You wake up, and the first thing you notice is not fear, it's weight. Not the weight of danger or panic, but the quiet pressure of cold air pressing against everything. Snow resting on branches, frost holding the world still, darkness lingering longer than it should. Your breath appears in front of your face, pale and brief, like the world is answering you in whispers. Cold here is not dramatic. It does not rush at you. It waits. It seeps upward from the ground. It slips through seams. It tests whatever you forgot to insulate. It searches patiently for exposed skin, for damp fabric, for careless movement. Cold is not an enemy that attacks. It's a condition that never stops asking questions. And every day, your survival depends on having already answered them. You do not sleep on the ground. You learned that long ago. The earth steals heat faster than air ever could. So, beneath you are layers placed with intention. Dry grasses gathered before the snow fell. Hides scraped, thin and softened. Fur turned inward. Each layer exists for one reason, only to slow the escape of warmth from your body. Comfort is not the goal. Stability is. Around you, others are still asleep. Bodies arranged close enough that warmth is shared, but not tangled. This is not intimacy. This is efficiency. Heat is pooled the way food is pooled. No one wastes it alone. Somewhere nearby, the fire is still alive, not burning brightly, not throwing sparks, but breathing slowly, carefully, banked beneath ash. That fire was not allowed to die during the night. It never is. Someone woke to feed it. Someone always does. Fire here is not an event. It's a responsibility. If it goes out, restarting it is expensive. It costs time, energy, attention, and sometimes pain. So fire is managed the way you manage children or elders or injuries, with constant care, shared duty, and quiet respect. This is how humans survive ice ages. Not by charging into blizzards, not by heroic last stands, not by fighting the cold, but by organizing life around it. That's the part that rarely gets told. The stories usually show danger, mammoths, snowstorms, starvation, teeth chattering in the dark. But those moments are the exception. The truth is slower, calmer, and far more methodical. Ice Age survival is a long series of small decisions made correctly, day after day. Where you sleep, how you dress, when you move, what you eat, who you stay close to, what you repair before it fails. Miss too many of those decisions, and the cold doesn't punish you immediately. It just waits. And then, one night, when you're tired, or careless, or unlucky, it collects what it's owed. So let's slow down. Let's not jump to the hunt, or the storm, or the dramatic rescue. Let's start with the ordinary morning, the kind that happened thousands of times across tens of thousands of years. The kind that mattered far more than any single heroic moment. Because this is how humans really survived ice ages. By mastering the daily logistics of cold. The light outside the shelter is changing. Not brighter, exactly, just less dark. The sky is a flat, pale gray. Snow reflects what little light there is, making the world feel exposed and quiet at the same time. Someone stirs. A child shifts and presses closer to an adult. A hand reaches out automatically to check that everyone is still there. Counting without numbers. Presence confirmed by touch. No one leaps up. No one rushes. Movement in cold wastes energy, and energy is never wasted casually. The first person fully awake tends the fire. They add fuel carefully, choosing pieces that will burn steadily, not flare. Too much flame wastes wood. Too little risks losing heat. Fire is balanced, not celebrated. As warmth begins to spread, others begin to wake. Slowly, stiff joints stretch. Fingers are flexed inside layers of hide and fur. People take stock of their bodies the way you might check tools before using them. Any numbness, any soreness, any stiffness that feels wrong. Injury in cold is dangerous, not because it hurts, but because it slows you down. Someone steps outside, briefly, wrapped tightly, face protected. They are not scouting for enemies. They are reading the environment, wind direction, cloud cover, snow texture, tracks, sounds. The landscape is not scenery. It's information. Fresh snow tells you how long ago something passed. Wind-carved drifts tell you where shelter will hold and where it will fail. Trees bent under weight tell you where fuel can be gathered without wandering far. This reading happens every morning. Not consciously, not ceremonially. It's just how the day begins. Back inside, someone checks clothing. Wet spots identified. Wetness is dangerous. Wetness steals heat faster than anything else. Clothing here is technology. Every piece exists for a reason. Inner layers trap warmth. Outer layers block wind. Hoods protect ears and cheeks. Mittens preserve fingers better than gloves ever could. Foot coverings are layered, padded, adjusted constantly. Nothing is static. Everything is maintained. Later is how problems become fatal. Someone begins warming yesterday's food near the fire, cooking, just softening. Frozen meat cracks if handled carelessly. Fat is precious. Fat is life. Calories in cold matter differently. You don't eat to feel full. You eat to burn slow. Fat lasts. Protein builds. Sugar is rare and fleeting. A small piece of dried meat is shared. Not because people are starving, but because morning is not for feasting. Morning is for readiness. Children eat too. They always do. Adults will go without before children do. This isn't kindness. It's strategy. A group that protects its young survives longer than one that doesn't. As people eat, plans form quietly, not schedules. Not agendas, just understanding. Who will gather fuel today? Who will stay near camp? Who will travel? Who will rest? Rest is not laziness. Rest is maintenance. The old person near the fire does not hunt anymore. They do something more valuable. They remember where shelter worked last winter, which route stayed passable, which valley trapped wind, which river froze last. Their body may move slower, but their knowledge saves energy for everyone else. This is cooperation stripped of romance. Everyone has a role because every role reduces risk. The decision to move camp is not made lightly. Movement costs calories. Movement exposes you to wind and weather. But staying too long can be worse. Resources thin. Fuel disappears. Animals move on. So when the decision is made, it's based on patterns observed over years. This place worked for early winter. Another place will work for deep winter. A third for the thaw. Migration routes are not journeys into the unknown. They are loops, familiar corridors etched into memory. Each stop has a reason. Shelter from prevailing wind, access to water, proximity to fuel. People don't wander, they circulate. When it's time to move, everything is packed with intention. Not everything is carried. Some things are cached, hidden, marked in ways only the group understands. Stored for return. You don't carry what you don't need today. Before leaving, the shelter is inspected, not abandoned carelessly. Useful materials are taken. Fire is extinguished fully. Nothing is wasted. Cold punishes waste. As the group begins to move, spacing matters. Too far apart, and someone falls behind. Too close, and movement becomes clumsy. Children are placed where they can be watched. Loads are balanced. Walking in snow is not dramatic. It's steady, rhythmic, measured. People do not talk much. Breath is conserved. Attention stays outward. When they stop together. When they drink warmed water, not snow. Eating snow lowers body temperature. That lesson was learned long ago. At the next shelter, the routine begins again. Wind is blocked. Bedding is laid. Fire is re-established using embers carried carefully from the last camp. Nothing here feels heroic. Nothing feels desperate. And that's the point. Ice Age survival was not a constant emergency. It was a system, a way of living tuned precisely to cold. Those who treated it casually did not last. Those who built routines did. And over thousands of winters, those routines became human nature. This is not the story of how humans fought ice ages. It is the story of how they organized life so the cold never had to be fought at all. Shelter is the first negotiation you make with the cold. And it is never about building something impressive. It is about reducing exposure. Wind is the real enemy, more than snow, more than low temperature itself. A still pocket of cold air can be survived. moving airstrips heat relentlessly. So the first question is always the same. Where does the wind come from here? And where does it not go? You learn this not from maps or instruments, but from lived memory. Snow drifts pile deeper on the windward side of ridges. Ice feathers cling to rocks facing the prevailing gusts. These signs are read automatically, the way you read a face. A good shelter does not stand proudly against the landscape. It hides inside it. The lee side of a rock outcrop. A shallow depression where snow naturally accumulates. A stand of trees that breaks the force of the wind without trapping drifting snow. Snow itself is not avoided. Snow is used. Packed snow blocks wind better than almost any wall. A shelter carved into a drift or reinforced with piled snow creates a still interior where body heat can do its work. Inside, the temperature may be far warmer than the air outside, not because heat is generated, but because it is trapped. That distinction matters. Heat production costs calories. Heat retention costs attention. Snow shelters are not igloos in the popular imagination. They are temporary solutions shaped by hands, boots, tools, and constant adjustment. Their roofs are low. Their entrances are small. Cold sinks, so sleeping platforms are raised. Airflow is managed carefully. Too little ventilation and smoke becomes deadly. Too much and heat is stolen away. Smoke management is a quiet science. Fires are built small and hot, not large and smoky. Fuels are chosen deliberately. Dry wood smokes less. Fat burns differently. Damp fuel is avoided whenever possible. If smoke begins to collect, openings are adjusted. If wind shifts, barriers are rebuilt. No shelter is finished. It is always in maintenance. Rock shelters offer advantages, but also risks. Stone holds cold. Moisture condenses. Drips form. Bedding must be kept dry. Hides are rotated, aired when possible, dried by fire without scorching. Sleeping spots are moved periodically to prevent dampness and heat loss. The ground beneath is layered thickly. First branches, then grasses, then hides. Insulation works by trapping air, not by being heavy. Weight alone does nothing. Thickness matters. Dryness matters more. A shelter that looks crude can be warm and safe. A shelter that looks solid can kill quietly through smoke or moisture. This is why shelter choice is conservative. Known places are favored over new ones. A shelter that worked last winter is trusted more than one that looks perfect today. Failure is remembered. Places where wind cut through. Places where snow collapsed. Places where smoke pooled. These memories are carried by the group and passed on without ceremony. You do not experiment in deep winter unless you must. Clothing becomes the second wall of the shelter, and it is treated with the same seriousness. There is no single garment that keeps you alive. Survival comes from layering. The innermost layer manages moisture. Sweat is dangerous. You avoid sweating whenever possible. Movement is paced. Loads are adjusted. If you sweat, you stop and vent before dampness sets in. The middle layers trap warmth. Fur turned inward, soft hides, materials that hold air. The outer layer blocks wind and sheds snow. It does not need to be thick. It needs to be intact. Seams matter more than fabric. Stitching is checked constantly. Needles made of bone or ivory are prized not because they are rare, but because they allow repair. Sinew thread tightens as it dries, sealing seams. Clothing is shaped, not draped. Hoods are snug. Cuffs are closed. Gaps are sealed with ties. Wraps overlaps. Mittens are favored over gloves because fingers sharing warmth survive longer. Footwear is layered, heavily padded with grasses or fur that can be replaced when damp. Boots are dried carefully, never too close to flame. Leather scorched by fire becomes stiff and useless. Everything is adjusted daily. Children are taught this early. A loose tie corrected. A damp sock replaced. These are not chores. They are survival habits drilled through repetition. Fire remains central, but it is not worshipped, it is budgeted. Rotten wood burns poorly. Frozen wood must be split to expose dry interior. Fat from animals is rendered and stored not just for food, but for light and fire starting. Embers are carried between camps in insulated containers of bark or hide. Letting a fire die completely is considered a serious failure, not because of pride, but because of cost. Restarting a fire without embers consumes time and energy and increases risk. Someone is always responsible for the fire, especially at night. Sleep in the cold is lighter, fragmented. People wake naturally to tend the fire, check children, shift bedding. This is not insomnia. Night is long in winter, and vigilance is shared. Calories dictate everything. Fat is the most valued resource, more than meat. Fat burns slow and hot inside the body. Marrow is cracked from bones. Organs are eaten early. Lean meat alone cannot sustain warmth. Protein without fat leads to weakness. Meals are structured around availability and need, not preference. Food is shared according to rules that minimize risk. Hoarding is dangerous. If one person starves, the group weakens. If the group weakens, everyone is exposed. Storage is practiced carefully. Meat is dried, smoked, frozen. Cache sites are chosen where scavengers are less likely to find them. Snow is used as refrigeration. Food is checked regularly. Spoilage is noticed early. Nothing is wasted without reason. Water presents its own challenge. Snow is plentiful, but expensive. Melting snow costs fuel, and time. Eating snow lowers core temperature. Water is gathered from ice holes when possible. Hot stones are dropped into containers to warm water without scorching them. Containers are kept close to the body to prevent freezing. Hydration is maintained quietly, consistently. Dehydration makes cold deadlier. Movement between camps follows known routes. These routes avoid exposed ridges and funnel through sheltered corridors. They follow game trails, river valleys, tree lines. Migration is not wandering. It is seasonal cycling. The same places are visited year after year, adjusted slightly as conditions change. Knowledge of these routes is guarded and taught. Children learn landmarks long before they are trusted to travel alone. Social cooperation is the final layer, thicker than fur, stronger than fire. Tasks are divided not by status, but by efficiency. The strongest may carry loads, the most observant scout. The most experienced decide when to move. Conflicts are managed quickly. Prolonged tension wastes energy and attention. Stories are told in the evenings, not just for comfort, but to reinforce memory. Where shelter failed, where storms came early, where food was found in scarcity. These stories regulate fear, spread knowledge, and keep minds steady through long darkness. This is how humans survived ice ages. Not through constant struggle, but through systems so stable they became invisible. Every small routine you repeat today echoes these choices. Dressing for warmth, seeking shelter from wind, sharing food. They are ancient habits built for a colder world, still living inside you. Cold does not arrive all at once. It accumulates. It builds quietly over weeks, then months, until it becomes the background condition of existence. That is why health during an ice age is not about curing dramatic illness, but about preventing small problems from compounding. A blister ignored becomes an infection. A numb toe becomes frostbite. A strained muscle becomes immobility. And immobility in winter is often fatal, not because you cannot move, but because others must spend energy compensating for you. So bodies are monitored constantly, not obsessively, but attentively. People notice how each other walk, how they rise from rest, how they handle tools. A limp is discussed. A cough is noted. Weakness is not shamed, but it is not ignored either. Rest is prescribed when needed, even if work remains. The group absorbs the cost because the alternative is worse. Frostbite prevention is a daily practice. Exposed skin is covered. Wind is blocked. Movement is moderated. Fingers and toes are checked frequently. Numbness is dangerous because it lies. Pain warns you, numbness does not. When it appears, rewarming happens slowly, carefully. Not near direct flame, not through rubbing frozen tissue. Warmth is shared body to body, hand to armpit, foot against belly, breath directed gently. These techniques are learned early, mistakes are remembered. Smoke is another quiet threat. Fires burn indoors often, and smoke inhalation weakens lungs over time. So smoke control is constant. Fire size is minimized. Fuel selection matters. Ventilation is adjusted throughout the day as wind shifts. People sit low when smoke rises. Children are kept clear. Chronic coughs are not mysterious illnesses. They are understood as environmental problems to be managed. Injuries happen. Slips on ice, cuts from stone tools, burns from careless fire tending. There is no surgery, but there is care. Wounds are cleaned with water, warmed by hot stones. Certain plants are used for their antiseptic properties. Dressings are changed. Pressure is applied. Splints are made from wood and sinew. Immobilization is temporary, but respected. Pain is tolerated, but not romanticized. Healing costs time, but ignoring injury costs lives. Medicine in this world is practical and conservative. No one expects miracles. The goal is to stabilize, not to cure. Fever is treated with rest, warmth, hydration, and plant infusions. Severe illness is rare but devastating. When it comes, the group adapts. Roles shift. Work is redistributed. Care continues until it no longer can. Death is not hidden, but it is not theatrical either. It is a known outcome of risk managed imperfectly. Mental endurance matters as much as physical health. Long winters bring darkness, confinement, repetition. Anxiety wastes energy. Panic disrupts coordination. So emotional regulation becomes a survival skill. Stories are told repeatedly, not because they are new, but because they are familiar. Familiarity calms the nervous system. Songs are simple, rhythmic, easy to remember. Children play games that mimic adult tasks, building competence without pressure. Humor appears quietly, often understated. Laughter warms the body. Boredom is not feared. It is accepted as part of stability. Sleep adapts to conditions. Long nights mean longer rest, but not continuous. People wake, tend fire, shift positions, then sleep again. Dreams are discussed, not analyzed deeply, but acknowledged. They provide variety in a world with little change. Night watch is informal, but constant. Someone is always half awake, not guarding against attack, but against failure. Fire dying. A child uncovered. Wind shifting. The sound of snow sliding. Morning comes slowly. Days blur together, differentiated more by weather than by date. The concept of counting days matters less than recognizing patterns. The return of certain birds, the angle of light, the quality of snow. These cues signal when movement is needed, when food must be conserved, when risk is rising. Migration timing is critical. Move too early and waste resources. Move too late and face impassable terrain. Decisions are made collectively, drawing on memory more than optimism. Younger members may push for movement. Elders often counsel patience. Neither is always right. The balance between them keeps the group alive. Travel in deep winter is minimized. When it happens, it is deliberate. Routes are chosen for shelter, not speed. Breaks are frequent. Loads are balanced to avoid exhaustion. Children are carried when necessary, rotated between adults. Tracks are watched constantly, not just for animals, but for snow stability. Avalanches are rare in many regions, but deadly where they occur. Wind slabs are recognized by texture and sound. Snow that sinks underfoot is avoided. Camps during travel are small and efficient. Shelters are built quickly, used briefly, abandoned carefully. Fire is kept minimal. Heat is conserved through closeness and insulation. During travel are simple, calorie-dense, easy to digest. Fat is eaten before protein. Digestion produces heat. Eating becomes part of thermal regulation. Water is rationed intelligently. Dehydration dulls judgment. Judgment errors in winter cascade fast. Children are watched closely during travel. They tire quickly, lose heat faster, misjudge risks. They are taught through experience, not lectures. They learn when to speak up, when to stay close, when to stop moving. These lessons are gentle but firm. The group's success is measured not by abundance, but by continuity. Did everyone make it through another season? Did knowledge pass on intact? Did the roots remain usable? Did relationships hold? These are the metrics that matter. Ice Age survival is not about defeating the environment. It is about aligning with it so closely that it becomes predictable. Cold becomes something you live inside, not something you fight. And over generations, this way of living shapes bodies and minds. Fat distribution changes. Muscle endurance improves. Attention sharpens. Humans become creatures capable of surviving in places that look uninhabitable. Not because they are stronger than the cold, but because they learned how to think around it. And that thinking, slow and methodical, is the real inheritance of the ice ages. By the deepest part of winter, life has narrowed into a smaller circle. Not smaller in meaning, but smaller in range. Movement is limited. Options are fewer. The world outside the shelter exists mostly as sound and memory. Wind moving across snow. Ice cracking on rivers. Trees creaking under weight. These sounds are listened to carefully, not with fear, but with interpretation. Each sound carries information. A sharp crack means shifting temperature. A long groan means pressure building. Silence after wind means snowfall coming. People learn to hear weather before it arrives. Inside the shelter, routines tighten. Space is used efficiently. Tools are kept in the same places. Clothing is hung in specific positions to dry without freezing stiff. Bedding is rearranged daily to prevent moisture buildup. Nothing is left where it might be stepped on accidentally. Accidents in confined winter shelters are costly. Fire tending becomes even more disciplined. Fuel is sorted by burn time. Fast-burning material is used to revive embers. Slow burning wood maintains heat through long nights. Fat lamps may be used sparingly, not for brightness, but for reliability. Light matters less than heat. The fire is never allowed to flare unnecessarily. Excess flame is waste. Smoke is monitored constantly. Ventilation holes are adjusted with snow blocks and hides. Someone always knows whose turn it is to watch the fire. Responsibility is shared, but accountability is clear. This prevents resentment and neglect. Food consumption changes subtly. Portions may become smaller, but more frequent. This keeps metabolism steady. Long fasts are avoided in extreme cold. The body needs fuel to maintain temperature, even at rest. Fat reserves are guarded carefully. When food is plentiful, it is still eaten conservatively. Surplus is saved for late winter, when hunting success drops and stored food becomes the main supply. The group plans not for tomorrow, but for the hardest weeks still ahead. Late winter is the most dangerous time. Cold persists, but resources are lowest. Many groups historically lost members, not at the start of winter, but near its end. This pattern is known, even if not articulated. Decisions in early winter are made with this future scarcity in mind. Social bonds are tested during these months. Prolonged proximity can breed irritation. Small conflicts arise. They are addressed quickly, often indirectly. Jokes diffuse tension. Tasks are rotated. People are given space when possible. Elders play a key role here, not as rulers, but as stabilizers. They recognize patterns of conflict and intervene early. A story told at the right moment can prevent an argument from escalating. Children continue to learn even when movement is limited. They practice skills indoors, not tying. Tool maintenance, story, repetition, observation. Winter is a season of knowledge transmission as much as survival. Long nights provide time for teaching that summer does not. This is when roots are described in detail, when past winters are recounted, when mistakes are analyzed quietly. Memory becomes sharper in winter because there is little else to distract from it. Physical conditioning is maintained deliberately. Even when travel is limited, people move. Stretching, light tasks, short walks outside when weather allows. Complete inactivity leads to weakness, which leads to injury. Balance is key. Enough movement to maintain strength, not so much that calories are wasted. Mental health is maintained through structure. Days have shape even when tasks are repetitive. Morning routines, fire checks, food preparation, tool work, evening storytelling. Predictability reduces anxiety. In an environment where you cannot control the weather, Controlling routine matters deeply. When storms come, the system tightens further. People remain inside. Fire is carefully rationed. Food is eaten slowly. Children are kept calm. Stories become quieter. Songs slower. The storm is not challenged. Afterward, assessment begins immediately. Damage to shelter, fuel loss, tracks erased. Travel delayed. Recovery is methodical. Nothing resumes until stability is confirmed. As winter begins to loosen its grip, subtle changes are noticed first. Light lasts slightly longer. Snow texture changes. Melt-freeze cycles begin. These changes are watched closely. They signal danger as much as opportunity. Thaw brings instability. Ice becomes unreliable. Snow bridges collapse. Travel routes change. The group adjusts again. Footwear is modified. Routes shift to higher ground. Water sources are reassessed. Food strategies change gradually. Stored food is supplemented with early resources. Scavenging increases. Opportunistic hunting returns. Spring is not a sudden release. It is a negotiation. Energy levels remain guarded. Overexertion during thaw leads to injury. Injury during thaw is dangerous because conditions fluctuate rapidly. Wet cold is often worse than dry cold. Clothing maintenance becomes even more critical. Drying opportunities increase, but so does moisture exposure. People air clothing whenever sunlight allows. Scraped, again, softened, repaired. Tools damaged during winter are fixed or replaced. Migration planning resumes. Routes that were inaccessible open again. Decisions are made about when to move, not based on impatience, but on ground conditions. Rivers are watched carefully. Breakup can be violent. Crossing too early is deadly. Waiting too long wastes time and resources. Knowledge of timing is crucial. This knowledge is accumulated over generations, refined by success and failure. It is never perfect, but it is good enough. That is the theme that runs through Ice Age survival. Nothing is perfect. Everything is sufficient. Systems are built to absorb error. Redundancy is everywhere. Extra layers, extra fuel, extra knowledge carriers. Children learn not just one skill, but many. Adults are capable of multiple roles. If one person fails, another can step in. This flexibility is not accidental. It is selected for. Groups that specialize too narrowly disappeared. Groups that maintained adaptable routines survived. Over thousands of years, this way of living shaped human psychology. Patience became normal. Planning became instinctive. Cooperation became necessary, not moral. These traits did not arise because humans were noble. They arose because the cold rewarded them. Ice ages did not just test humanity, they trained it. They forced humans to become creatures of foresight, restraint, and shared responsibility. And when the ice finally retreated, those traits did not disappear. They traveled forward in time, embedded in habits, instincts, and social expectations. Even now, when you dress in layers, stock food for winter, seek shelter from wind, or feel comforted by routine during long, dark days, you are responding with strategies forged in ice. The cold taught humans how to live slowly, carefully, together. And that lesson never truly ended. As winter releases its grip and the landscape begins to change again, the system does not collapse into chaos or celebration. There is no sharp line between survival mode and abundance. The habits formed during cold persist because abandoning them too quickly is dangerous. Snow still falls unexpectedly. Cold returns at night. Water remains unpredictable. So the routines loosen slowly, one layer at a time. Movement increases, but cautiously. Camps are left behind, but not forgotten. Tools cached months ago are retrieved. Routes walked the previous year are retraced with care. The land is read again, this time for different information. Where meltwater pools, where plants will emerge first, where animals will return to graze. Spring is not seen as relief. It is seen as transition, and transitions are when mistakes happen. Bodies are weaker than they were in autumn. Fat reserves are lower, muscles are leaner. Injuries accumulated over winter have not fully healed. This is not the time for excess. It is the time for discipline of a different kind. Food sources diversify again. Early greens appear, bitter but valuable. They provide vitamins lacking in winter diets. Roots soften as the ground thaws. Scavenging increases as animals that did not survive winter are found. These carcasses are approached carefully. Spoilage is a risk. Predators linger. Decisions are made quickly and collectively. Is it worth the calories? Is it safe? Knowledge guides these choices. Children are brought along to observe, not to decide. Teaching continues constantly, embedded in action. Clothing is adjusted. Layers are shed during the day, added again at night. Moisture management becomes critical. Sweat in spring cold is as dangerous as sweat in winter. Drying opportunities are used aggressively. Sunlight is a resource. Hides are spread, turned, scraped, softened. Repairs delayed during the darkest months are completed. Tools worn down by winter use are reworked. Stone is re-knapped. Handles are replaced. Sinew is retied. The sound of tool work becomes more frequent, a sign that energy is returning but still being invested carefully. Social patterns shift subtly. Groups may split temporarily to exploit different resources, then reunite. These separations are planned, not emotional. Everyone knows when and where to regroup. Information is shared deliberately before splitting. If one group fails, the other compensates. This redundancy is part of the system. Children experience more freedom as conditions improve. They roam slightly farther, play more energetically. Adults watch without hovering. Risk tolerance increases incrementally, not recklessly. Injury in spring can still undo months of survival. Elders remain central. Their role intensifies during transition periods. They remember fall springs, late storms, floods. Their caution tempers enthusiasm. Decisions are debated, but respect for experience remains strong. Not because elders are always right, but because ignoring them has proven costly in the past. Migration resumes fully when conditions allow. The group moves back into wider territory. Camps become more dispersed. Shelters are lighter, faster to build. Fire use changes. Less heat is needed, but fire remains important for cooking, protection, and routine. Fuel gathering becomes easier, but waste is still avoided. Habits built in scarcity do not vanish with abundance. This continuity is what allows humans to thrive beyond ice ages. They do not need to reinvent survival with each season. They adjust parameters within a stable framework. Over years, then generations, this framework becomes culture. Not art or ritual alone, but shared expectations about how life should be managed. Children raised in this system internalize it deeply. They do not think of survival as exceptional. It is normal life. They do not separate work from living. Gathering fuel, repairing clothing, sharing food, reading, whether these are not tasks, they are existence. When the climate eventually warms and ice retreats, these humans do not suddenly become different. They carry their systems with them into forests, grasslands, coastlines. The same logic applies. Shelter from wind, manage moisture, budget calories, share risk, plan movement. Ice Age survival does not end with ice. It becomes the foundation for everything that follows. Agriculture will later replace migration in some regions, but the underlying habits remain. Storing surplus, preparing for lean seasons, organizing labor, caring for the vulnerable because the vulnerable hold knowledge. Even modern concepts of home, clothing, routine, and seasonal planning trace back to this period. The Ice Ages did not just challenge humanity, they shaped it. They selected for patience over impulse, cooperation over isolation, foresight over reaction. They rewarded those who could endure monotony, who could find stability in repetition, who could accept limits without despair. This is why the popular image of Ice Age life as constant terror is misleading. Terror is unsustainable. Panic burns energy. What endured was calm, boring, careful, calm. Humans survived the cold not by being exceptional every day, but by being reliable, day after day, season after season. And that reliability, built in frozen landscapes tens of thousands of years ago, still underlies how humans navigate uncertainty today. When conditions worsen, people instinctively return to routine. They stock supplies, they seek shelter, they stay together, they slow down. These are not modern inventions. They are ancient responses to cold. The Ice Ages ended, but the lessons never left. By the time the Ice Ages finally loosened their long grip on the world, humans are no longer simply surviving within cold systems. They have mastered them. What once required constant vigilance now runs almost automatically, carried by habit, shared expectation, and deeply embedded knowledge. This is what makes the end of the Ice Ages so important. Not because life suddenly becomes easy, but because humans emerge from this period fundamentally changed. They have learned how to live inside uncertainty without collapsing under it. Cold taught them patience. Scarcity taught them planning. Risk taught them cooperation. These traits persist even when the ice retreats. When forests expand and grasslands open, humans do not abandon their winter logic. They apply it everywhere. Shelter still matters. Wind still matters. Moisture still matters. Calories are still tracked intuitively. The difference is that the margin for error widens. Mistakes are less immediately fatal. But the systems remain. People still layer clothing even when warmth is abundant. They still store food beyond immediate need. They still organize groups around shared responsibility rather than individual strength. This continuity explains why humans spread so effectively once conditions improve. They are not improvising. They are deploying a tested operating system, refined over thousands of winters. The skills learned in Ice Age Europe and Asia translate seamlessly to new environments. In forests, wind patterns change, but shelter logic remains. In grasslands, exposure increases, but movement strategies adapt. Along coasts, cold water replaces cold air as the threat, but insulation and heat management still rule. Even in warmer climates, nights can kill through exposure. The Ice Age mindset prepares humans for all of it. One of the most profound changes carried forward is the human relationship with time. Ice Age survival teaches long thinking, planning weeks ahead, remembering years back, anticipating seasons rather than days. This temporal awareness becomes foundational. It underlies migration cycles, food storage, social memory, and eventually, ritual and tradition. Stories told around winter fires evolve into myths, not because humans suddenly become symbolic thinkers, but because repetition and memory matter when survival depends on them. The long dark trains the mind to revisit the same narratives again and again, extracting guidance, reassurance, and instruction. Another lasting change is emotional regulation. Ice Age humans learn that panic is expensive. Emotional outbursts disrupt coordination. They waste energy. They fracture groups. So restraint becomes normal. This does not mean life is joyless. Joy exists, but it is quieter. Laughter around a fire. Satisfaction after repair. Relief when a storm passes. These emotions are allowed because they stabilize rather than destabilize. This emotional economy persists. Even in later, warmer societies, humans value composure, patience, and reliability. These traits are often mistaken for morality or culture alone. In reality, They are survival adaptations forged in cold. Children raised in Ice Age systems grow up assuming responsibility early, not through punishment, but through participation. They learn that their actions affect others, that forgetting to secure a shelter or repair a seam does not just harm them, it harms everyone. This sense of shared consequence becomes deeply internalized. It does not disappear when resources increase. It becomes the basis for social contracts, kinship obligations, and later, law. The Ice Ages also refine human attention. People learn to notice subtle changes because missing them has consequences. A shift in wind, a change in snow texture, an unfamiliar silence. This attentiveness does not vanish with warming climates. It becomes hunting skill, agricultural timing, navigation, craftsmanship. Modern humans still carry this capacity, though it is often dulled by artificial environments. But when placed back into uncertain conditions, it reactivates quickly. This is why humans remain remarkably adaptable. The Ice Ages were not a temporary challenge. They were a training ground. When they end, humans do not relax into passivity. They expand, they experiment, they innovate, but always within the framework learned in cold. Storage becomes granaries. Seasonal movement becomes trade routes. Fire management becomes metallurgy. Shelter engineering becomes architecture. None of this appears suddenly. It unfolds because the underlying logic already exists. The real legacy of Ice Age survival is not specific tools or techniques. It is a way of thinking. Anticipate rather than react. Share rather than hoard. Repair rather than replace. Move deliberately. Rest when needed. Respect limits. These principles are not romantic. They are not heroic. And they are why humans endure long after many other large mammals disappear. The mammoths, the giant sloths, the woolly rhinoceroses vanish as climates shift. Humans remain because they were never tied to one condition. They learned how to live inside extremes without being defined by them. Ice Age life, at its core, was not about conquering nature. It was about fitting into it with precision. When that precision was no longer required, it did not vanish. It became flexibility. And that flexibility is what carries humans forward into every environment they will ever inhabit. The Ice Ages end, but the human system does not. It simply finds new terrain, even after the ice has retreated and the great sheets of frozen land have pulled back toward the poles. The habits formed in that long cold do not loosen their grip on human life. They persist quietly, shaping decisions that no longer seem connected to survival at all. People still seek shelter instinctively when weather turns harsh. They still store more than they need for the moment. They still feel uneasy when alone for too long in uncertain conditions. These instincts are not cultural accidents. They are the afterimage of thousands of years spent managing cold carefully enough to survive it. The end of the ice ages does not erase scarcity. It merely softens it. Humans who move into newly warming landscapes bring with them an internalized sense that abundance is temporary and must be respected. This is why early post-ice age societies often appear cautious rather than exuberant. They do not immediately exhaust resources. They rotate, use. They test environments slowly. Ice taught them that environments change faster than bodies can adapt, so caution remains rational. Over generations, this caution becomes tradition. Certain places are avoided at certain times. Certain foods are eaten only after others are stored. Certain behaviors are discouraged, not with rules, but with stories of what happened before. These stories lose their original context over time, but their function remains the same: to prevent reckless behavior. As climates stabilize further, humans begin to experiment more boldly. They settle longer. They alter landscapes. They domesticate plants and animals. But even agriculture, often portrayed as a radical break, carries Ice Age logic at its core. Fields are stored sunlight. Granaries are winter caches. Livestock are mobile fat reserves. Seasonal labor mirrors seasonal migration. The rhythm remains familiar. What changes is scale, not structure. Even conflict changes shape under this legacy. Ice Age humans learned that internal violence is inefficient. Injured group members become liabilities in harsh conditions. Groups that fractured under stress did not last. This does not eliminate conflict, but it changes how it is managed. Disputes are mediated early. Aggression is often ritualized rather than lethal. Reputation matters because trust is a survival tool. These patterns echo forward into later societies, where social cohesion continues to determine resilience under stress. When modern humans face disasters, they often rediscover these ancient responses. They gather, they share resources. They rely on routine. They listen to experienced voices. These behaviors feel instinctive because they are. The nervous system recognizes uncertainty and reverts to strategies that once preserved life in frozen landscapes. Even boredom, often feared today, served a purpose in Ice Age life. Boredom reduced impulsivity. It encouraged rest. It made repetition tolerable. Long winters trained humans to exist without constant novelty. This capacity allowed knowledge to accumulate slowly and reliably. It allowed skills to be refined across decades, rather than abandoned in search of stimulation. In a world of constant threat, boredom was stability. That stability carried forward, enabling long projects, patient observation, and eventually complex technologies. The Ice Ages also shaped human perception of success. Survival was not measured by triumph, but by continuity. Did the group endure? Did the children grow? Did the knowledge pass on? This definition of success persists subtly even in modern life. People still value stability, safety, and continuity more deeply than constant excitement, even if they claim otherwise. These values were etched into human psychology when excitement often meant danger. Looking back, the Ice Ages were not a pause in human progress. They were a crucible. They stripped life down to essentials and rewarded those who could manage them calmly. They eliminated strategies that relied on excess, speed, or brute force. What survived were systems built on foresight, cooperation, and restraint. When the world warmed, these systems did not dissolve. They expanded. They allowed humans to fill every continent, every climate, every niche. The quiet truth is that modern humanity is not adapted for comfort. The comfort many experience today is a temporary condition made possible by systems descended from Ice Age logistics. Shelter, clothing, heating, food storage, social safety nets, all echo those ancient solutions. And when those systems falter, humans instinctively rebuild them in similar forms. This is why the story of Ice Age survival matters. Not because it is distant or exotic, but because it is ongoing. The same principles that kept small bands alive in frozen valleys still govern how societies respond to risk. The Ice Ages are not just a chapter in the past. They are the foundation beneath the present. Humans did not simply endure the cold. And in doing so, they became the kind of species that can survive almost anywhere, as long as they remember how to live slowly, together, and with respect for limits. Have you ever wondered how our ancestors, with just primitive tools and a flickering fire, survived the biting cold of an ice age? It's a story of incredible resilience, a testament to the human spirit that echoes in our DNA today. Picture this: vast white landscapes stretching as far as the eye can see. Glaciers, miles high, grind across the continents, and the air is so cold it hurts to breathe. This was the world for tens of thousands of years. It wasn't just a long winter, it was an entirely different planet. Yet, amidst this frozen world, small groups of humans didn't just survive, they thrived. How did they do it? It wasn't brute strength. A mammoth or a saber-toothed cat was infinitely stronger. No, our greatest weapon was our mind, and our superpower was cooperation. We learned to read the seasons, to track the great herds of bison, reindeer, and woolly mammoths that were our walking refrigerators. Every hunt was a high-stakes gamble, requiring meticulous planning and teamwork. A successful hunt meant food, warm furs, and bones to build shelters and craft tools. Failure meant starvation. Innovation was key. Our ancestors developed sophisticated new tools. They perfected the art of creating sharp flint spearheads and invented the spear thrower, or otlot, which allowed them to hunt from a safer distance. They crafted bone needles, a tiny invention with a massive impact. For the first time, they could sew together fitted clothing from animal hides, creating personal, wearable shelters that trapped body heat and kept the freezing winds at bay. But survival wasn't just about tools and tactics. It was about community. Around the crackling warmth of a fire inside a cave or a mammoth bone hut, they shared food, cared for the sick, and told stories. These fires were the heart of their world, a beacon of light and warmth against the immense, indifferent cold. It was here that culture was born. They painted stunning images of the animals they hunted on cave walls, the first art galleries in human history. These weren't just decorations, they were stories, rituals, and perhaps a way to connect with the spiritual world, to ask for a successful hunt. They shared knowledge, passing down survival techniques from one generation to the next. They learned which plants were edible, which woods burned the longest, and how to navigate by the stars. This collective memory was their most valuable inheritance. Living through an ice age forced us to become smarter, more creative, and more social. It forged the very qualities that define us as a species. Every time we collaborate on a project, invent a new technology, or tell a story to our children, we are continuing a legacy that began around a flickering fire in a world of ice. It's a powerful reminder that no matter how challenging the circumstances, the human spirit has an incredible capacity to adapt, innovate, and endure. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey back in time as fascinating as I did, don't forget to like this video and subscribe for more stories about our incredible past. See you next time.